William, can you do me a favor? Can you go see Eddie? And can you ask him to get us the Maduro cigars that I've had? When did you tell me it was 2 years ago?
At least minimum 2 years ago.
Yeah, the Maduro. Tell him the Maduro. They might be under Geronimo because that was the old company.
No, I think we did those with Tampeño because Tampeño's been open for 2 years now.
I think they're listed on a cooler though as Geronimo. They're Maduro. They're unbanded. I've been holding on to them for a special occasion, which I believe is going to be Privada Con. I'm not sure. I got to check inventory on them. Can you grab us 4 of those? Absolutely. And a cutter and a lighter, which I have in my bag right there. So we're here with my man Jorge Rodriguez from Tampeño Cigars in Tampa. You know him. He took us on a tour of West Tampa, which was a great video, by the way.
Bro, I still watch that video. Thank you for the introduction, by the way.
Of course.
Last weekend, actually, we were sitting down and somebody was like, yo, so, I know you're in cigars and stuff like that, but how well are you known? And I said, oh, here we go. I wait for somebody to say something to put the video. I'm like, you got some time? He's like, yeah, I got time. I'm like, you ever had a tour of Tampa? Yeah. I said, well, you're about to get a tour of Tampa. I threw it on there. So it was cool. I love that video. Everybody loves that video. It was great.
It was great. I had a great time filming it. I enjoyed watching it thoroughly. I watch it all the time.
Yeah, me too.
I really, really, really enjoyed it. And thank you for taking us.
Thank you.
And that's the kind of way that's the way that our relationship is played out. This is the way that I've wanted all of my relationships in this business to play out, is just add enough value to where people appreciate you and you can have mutually beneficial business together.
The thing is that I've noticed, and not to knock on anybody else, and to touch on what you said, the reason we've gotten along so well is we're not one-sided with our relationship. It's not, well, what can I get for Privada? What can I get for Tampeño? It's what can we do together to continue to grow? And we've been working together for years now.
Yeah.
Since I started in the business.
Yeah. You're in the Halloween with a find, the 4.5 by 55 that you found for us at Estrella.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a couple years age on it. It's an amazing cigar. Everyone's going crazy over that right now.
Yeah, cigar's good.
So thank you for that. And you also have found us other things in the past, which I appreciate you keeping an eye out for us.
Always, bro. Always.
Yeah. Let's talk more about tobacco because that's really what this is about, right? So let's talk about what kind of trends are you as a young guy who's friendly with factory owners and kind of have some of your own joint ventures? What are we seeing in tobacco? I'm gonna give an example. One thing that I'm seeing, which I haven't seen in my career here because it became so popular and so expensive that no one had Connecticut broadleaf. I'm seeing broadleaf around again.
Everywhere. But broadleaf never went away. Broadleaf, we've been using broadleaf in Dominican Republic forever.
But that wasn't Connecticut broadleaf.
No. We're using Maduro broadleaf. The thing is that broadleaf has always been, in my findings, has always been moved around to multiple. I've seen broadleaf as fitter. I've seen broadleaf as binder. I've seen broadleaf as wrapper.
Sure, but you have the different grades. But to my point, a lot of the stuff that the guys were saying in DR was broadleaf. That's Dominican grown broadleaf.
Oh, 100%. No, yes, yes.
The Connecticut broadleaf from that family, from those people.
No, forget about it. You're never going to see that.
I'm seeing it again.
Bro, I haven't seen it, me personally, in Nicaragua or in Dominican, and I think it's for 2 reasons. I think, first of all, it's so damn expensive.
It's so expensive.
That nobody wants to use it. And I feel like a lot of these new school blenders don't even know how to use it.
They don't know what it is. They've never used it.
Bro, I mean, the leaf's this big.
Here's the good news to any blenders that haven't used it is you can basically put it around anything and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's the best. To me, it's the best wrapper for New World cigars, I'll call it.
I think it has one wrapper tobacco that's running right next to it parallel, and that's San Andreas Maduro. I think San Andreas Maduro has popped unbelievable. I feel like everybody's
It's the new broadleaf.
It's 100%. That's what I'm saying. It's still in the runnings with it. Now, will San Andreas in the next 10 years be considered as good as broadleaf is still considered?
I think here's the two issues that you have. One is grown in America. We know that's twice as much right there.
But you have broadleaf in Nicaragua, you have broadleaf in Ecuador.
But it's not the same.
But
it's not the same. They don't. A lot of them won't even call it broadleaf. They're just called like AJ has a hybrid broadleaf. I saw that going on.
You can't compare everybody.
And it's
else to
very
what
good.
you know.
It's very good, right? But like the rest of the people, when they say broadleaf, I look at it and I go, man, you're lying to us again.
Well, you can tell just by the pure size of the.
Oh, yeah. This is what I'm talking about.
I haven't
We
seen
have a
these
cutter.
in a while, bro.
Oh, you're the best. Look at this. These have been in the coolers for 2 years already.
Easily. That we did this right at the beginning of Tampeño opening up.
Okay.
So this is obviously something that was just for you, but man, I haven't seen this in forever.
Do you remember what the blend was? We could look at it together.
We're gonna probably have to look at it. I mean, if I light it up and smoke it, I'll probably remember some of it.
And you did this with your guy in Nicaragua?
This was done in Nicaragua.
Okay. What's his name again?
Danny.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Great guy. This is San Andreas wrapper.
Yeah. It's dark. So that's the thing about San Andreas is you could call it broadleaf even if it's not, because it's from the seed, but we both know that the seed in a different soil becomes a different thing, right?
Oh, no, 100%.
Don't you feel like San Andreas is just broadleaf grown in Mexico?
No, I don't think so, man.
Okay.
I think
it's a different. You see the leaves more than I do.
100%. You can tell, and that's what I was going to tell you. You can tell the difference between a broadleaf grown in Ecuador, Dominican, or Nicaragua, and a broadleaf grown here in America. The size difference alone, just of the leaf, is night and day almost. Second of all, to me, San Andreas, the size is different. The overall complexity of the leaf is different, and I think the characteristics are a lot, very different when it comes to flavor profiles of them. My opinion.
Sorry, I got sidetracked. I was looking for an ashtray. We'll have to make it. Yeah, you got one? Okay. Yeah. So you're saying you're spotting it at the factory inside. See, I get to see mostly the finished product, and I mean,
they're very similar look-wise.
Very.
But I feel like when it comes down to taste, I think broadleaf has a broader taste profile, and I feel like you can mix broadleaf with a lot more stuff than you can San Andreas.
You're 100% correct, and that's what I'll get to is that broadleaf, man. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you could fuck it up, but the bottom line is better ingredients make better cigars, and most of the time what I hear about broadleaf is,
sounds like a Papa John's commercial. Watch out we don't get sued by them too. That would be next on the list. Better ingredients? You started the slogan there, bro. I don't think Papa John's is gonna hate Privada.
That guy's nuts. You seen him lately?
That guy seems like somebody that would sit down and hang out with us and have a good
I do
time.
Agree with that. So he's nuts in a good way, I guess.
He's one of us.
But he did have there was some crazy shit. I don't know everything that went on over there, so I won't comment on what kind of person he is, but he built a big company. It is, it's pretty amazing.
Well, a lot of times when people build companies like that, they automatically just get hate because people hate them for what they've done.
Sure.
Whether it's good or bad, you know what I'm saying?
Dude, this cigar, I brought it out because I smoked one like a month or two ago. And I was like, holy shit, this thing's ready to go.
It's been here for a while. Because even when you got it, this cigar, it wasn't aged years, but this cigar already had, 6 months at least on it by the time you got it.
See, this is the best work.
What a difference it makes to let something sit and age.
To me, this is as good as a San Andreas is going to get. Thank you very much. Shout out to our people, Tom Lazuka and the Aroa faction. The San Andreas is herby, earthy. It's not spicy. It's very smooth. People think it's spicy because it's always wrapped around Nicaraguan stuff, and they're like, "Oh, it's gotta be it's a powerhouse." No, it doesn't. We've had all like Mexican tobacco, and it's just. There's not much to it.
I'm glad you brought that up because everybody automatically thinks that San Andreas, that's the new wave. Now that you were saying, what do I see? The new wave of cigars right now is pepper bombs, spice bombs, what people are confusing for strength bombs. And, me and you have talked about that off camera many times. Yeah. I even think, and I might get shot for saying this, I even think there's a lot of undercured tobacco on the market right now to trick people's mind into thinking they're smoking a pepper bomb or something like that. And San Andreas is a cigar, or a tobacco, that gets very much confused for that pepper, spice, strength bomb, when
Yeah.
it's really not. It's really everything else that goes into it.
Right.
So I'm glad you said that, because when you started off that saying, I was like, oh shit, like why are you saying? But then you, at the end, yeah, I agree 1,000% on that statement. And it's good tobacco. It's not
Very
bad
good.
tobacco.
No. Boy, this is good though.
This
is
changed a
right
lot.
down the middle, man. It's like right down the middle. Very balanced, sweet, smooth.
This changed a lot. Wow.
Yeah, it really did. Keeping them in the newspaper for aging makes a big difference though.
The newspaper is something, and we've talked about this a million times, the newspaper is something that doesn't need to be done. It's something that was done more just tradition. It was done something to brand a certain type of blend that now has turned into a whole category, a whole line all on its own. But the newspaper, that thick paper, really gives it a different aging process than cellophane would. The newspaper, especially being rolled on tighter than the cellophane, the cellophane is a little bit looser on there. Bro, it keeps the cigar, I mean, look at the wrapper, how it looks after a couple years. The wrapper's still very smooth. It's still very oily.
Yep. Yeah, so it didn't suck out all the oils, but I'll tell you what it does do. I feel as though if you were able to leave them on, like the Sons of Ash that have been sitting there, I feel as when it's been more than a year with that newspaper on it, if it's been kept in good humidity, it smooths out some of the impurities or some of the rough edges.
100%. And that's the point of the newspaper, and to a certain extent. The newspaper, being the thicker paper, not only does it help the cigar dry when it's first made, it helps it dry out quicker, but this paper is incredible, to be honest with you, because all this is newspaper. This is not anything that was specially designed in a lab.
Right.
This paper will suck out humidity and it'll turn yellow, but then if it gets humidity, it'll help maintain humidity in the cigar. It's honestly incrable how it works.
It's a two-way system.
This is a two-way humidifying newspaper system.
Now both of us gonna come after us.
Yo, we're gonna get sued by everybody today.
A shout out to both of them, man. They've been pretty good to us.
Definitely. This has changed a lot. Wow.
Yeah. It's a well-balanced, perfect middle-of-the-road cigar. I call this the kind of cigar that I would bring to a competition. If there was like a competition about like all the technicalities of cigars, this would be that, because you don't want that to be a powerhouse cigar. The one for, if you have real judges that are really looking at flavors and construction and all that stuff, like you want it to be a middle-of-the-road cigar. That's why cigar reviews kind of suck. They suck because it's like, what are you basing this review on? So you're telling me that if you have the best cigar of your life and you had to touch it up twice, that it's no longer a top cigar?
I don't believe in that. I'll never believe in a touch-up of a cigar as something that shouldn't be, that should be points taken off. At the end of the day, this is a natural product that's 100% handmade. It's not gonna be a razor sharp burn. And why are you gonna knock points off the cigar on flavors? First of all, what does a razor sharp burn have to do with strength? Or what does a razor sharp burn have to do with flavor?
Right.
Absolutely nothing.
Right.
I agree with you 100%. I rate cigars by my nose.
Yeah.
If my nose likes it, then we're good.
All right. This is great. Now you got that leathery San Andreas thing going on. You got the herbs in there. It's earthy.
A lot more herbs than when the cigar was first made.
For sure.
Wow.
And it's smooth. Hey, and I hate using the word smooth because I think it's such an amateur, but everyone, it's a smooth cigar. But this is smooth.
That's a bad word.
This is like velvety. I'm going to say velvety. Yeah.
Well, because a lot of people who walk into a lot of these cigar lounges or come in or whatever the case is, you always hear them say, you ask, what do you enjoy? Smooth. It's hard to make a cigar that's it's like literally a smooth cigar. But yeah, smooth does apply to this blend.
But the thing that killed me through COVID, that like really threw me for a loop and upset me. It's theoretic. But it's not really just theory. It's the real deal. What I realized was that we represent, and when I say we represent, I mean guys that are really into cigars and women that are really into cigars. We represent like 3% of the cigar purchasing market. Okay? The brands that make the most sales are the ones that have been able to cross over and tap into a market that they're not really into it like we are. They're guys that they're going to golf. And they're
I know
not cheap. They're not cheap like us.
I didn't know
They
where you
go
were
that guy, I don't like that guy's stuff. And they walk in, they go, what should I buy? Oh, tell me what I should buy?
Exactly.
Okay, I'll take the whole box.
I didn't know where you were going, but now that you say that, you're 100% right. I feel like that the cigar aficionado, the person who is...
They used to call us cigar nerds, then cigar heads, whatever you want to call it.
Us, people that live and die by cigars.
3% of the market.
I didn't know there was an actual number to that, but I think you're 100% right, because when you sit in these shops and when you go to these places, you have multiple people that walk in and say, I'm looking for a gift, what do I buy? I'm looking for something expensive, I'm looking for this, or they'll simply walk in and say, hey, recommend me the best thing you got. And these store owners, not all of them, but a lot of these store owners are like, yeah, come here. You want the best that I got. Walk down this way. Here's a red carpet for you. And it's unfortunate that happens. But damn, I didn't even think about it like that. But you're right.
It depresses me.
Yeah,
because I definitely represent the 3%.
Bro,
it would be nice, like when the rest of the people, are really here and they see. Because I think
that'll take longer than 5 years.
Yes, I think we've been talking about this craft cigar movement for the last 5 years, but I think really it's just starting. Information is out there. There's been enough. This is this has been for the craft beer movement. We've still been home brewing.
The craft beer movement is definitely more advanced than the craft cigar movement.
We're 20 years behind it.
You think it's that much?
Yeah. Like I said, I think right now is 20 years ago for the craft beer movement.
No time soon then.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we got time. God willing, we have time. But I think it started out with guys that were rent a warehouse like this, and they put their own little thing in there. They were making beer for their friends and stuff like that. And then it started to catch on. This is way better than regular beer.
They had stills in their backyard or in their garage.
And so there's 3% of us that are enjoying these rare, unique, one-off crafts, cigars that are from specific people. We have people that we like, people we don't like. All that. It's like baseball to us. It's like a sport, right? And so eventually that infectious thing catches on to the rest of the industry. The same way the people that used to sit down at a shop would buy that same cigar over and over and over, and it was from one of the big brands. This is going to catch on to cigar consumers that walk in and go, I'm going to golf, what do I get? Oh, you should get the new, Tampeño, or you should get the new Privada, or whatever.
I just feel like one of the things that you said too, about now we live in this whole, we smoke this because we like it, or we smoke this because we don't like it. I feel like sometimes people get caught up on the one person or maybe one bad apple, and they stop smoking a whole line of cigars for no reason. I'm the type of person that...
You want to give me a for instance?
No, not on camera. Come on, bro. Now you're trying to get me shit too.
I'm trying to get okay.
But look, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I'll give you for instance.
Okay.
You.
Okay.
There's people that'll try to come at you because they might be upset
me?
with something.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Everyone
right.
loves me, bro. I don't know what he's talking about. What did they say? Let me hear this.
No. It's not about what they say. There's some people that might be previous videos you've done. There's been issues before in the industry, and it's all stupid social media stuff.
Yeah.
But they might say because Brian
sucks, so his cigars suck too.
And that's not the case.
Yeah.
Because then what you're
doing, get a lot of that. I've heard that a lot.
But that shouldn't be done, because what you're doing there is you're taking money out of pockets and you're stopping production of people that we employ at factories, because yes, you might not care for Brian, but Brian is not rolling these cigars himself.
Right.
Brian's getting these cigars from people from different factories, from people like myself, from age. So what you're doing is you're stopping the smoke stuff that you like.
And that's been part of my people don't realize that's been part of my defense mechanism too.
And it's a damn good one.
I know that I'm can be polarizing, because I'm polarized within my vision of where I see cigars, and this is what it is my company at the end of the day, right? And so I'm going to steer it the way. Obviously, if I get feedback that says from my people that say, yo, I don't like the direction you're going, okay, let's talk about that, back that up, figure it out, right? But if everyone's happy with the way things are going, and this is my vision for the industry, which is where these guys are sports figures to us. They are the top 100%. Of the top, and we want to celebrate them and shine light on them. It's been a good defense mechanism, because I wasn't trying to take credit for their work. I could easily have bought this cigar from you and not said anything about you, made it all about me.
You've never done that.
No.
And that's one of the things, that's why I continue to do what we do together, and that's why I continue to, and that's why I said what I said, because at the end of the day, I don't feel that it's right that just because you might not agree with somebody's something that somebody said one time, then you're just gonna shun somebody out. That's not, to me, that's not how things should be.
I think it's important because the people I used to hate, I love now. Like, I give this example all the time.
You want to give me an example?
Yes, I want to give you an example. So I'm a New Yorker. I'm in music. It's 90, whatever, 2000 something. And Nas is my favorite rapper. Nas, you can't do anything. Like, the guy's amazing, right? And I did not really enjoy Jay-Z. I did not really appreciate him at the time, okay? He's on, like, album 8, I think. And he gets into this battle to be the king of New York. That was basically it. Who's the king of New York, Nas or Jay-Z?
Nas was the king of New York at that time.
And Nas tore his ass up. Bottom line, the takeover is not ether.
Can we say that Nas is a better rapper, hands down, than Jay-Z?
No.
No.
No. In fact, I would say that Jay-Z is the better all-around rapper.
Jay-Z's a better businessman, hands down.
Jay-Z is the better all-around rapper, and here's what I mean by
I agree with that.
My man's got like 17 albums out at this point, Nas, and honestly, like, I don't love half of the stuff he puts out anymore. You know, I love his
cigar business too.
Huh?
Isn't he in the cigar business now too?
Yeah, he sponsors a company, Esco or something.
Here for wonder, no.
So, man, if we're having that conversation, that's a whole nother. I think that's how I look at AJ. I look at him like Jay. It's like, yo, the guy will chameleon and do anything. Like, he'll make it work. You know, whereas Nas has a very specific thing. And the crazy part for me lately is with Nas's music is that I feel like the producer he's using just doesn't complement his flow. But whatever, we're not talking about that. What were we talking about?
Jay-Z. You were saying that there's
I hated Jay-Z.
Correct.
I love Nas. Nas whooped him. You ever see someone out in the street get their asses whooped? And you're like, or a boxer that you didn't like, he gets beat, and you're like, okay, that humbled him a little bit. Now, I feel for him a little bit. Let's see where he goes from here.
He's the underdog at that point.
There you go. And so I became like the biggest Jay-Z fan. And I was the same way with Floyd Mayweather. I hated this guy.
I did too.
He made me hate him. He enjoyed making me and millions of other people like me hate his guts. And now I want to put a picture of him on a wall in my office.
I hated Mayweather.
If I ever get an office, I'll put a picture of Floyd Mayweather up there.
If you ever get an office?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have an office?
No.
Really?
I mean, you've been around me. It's always garages and warehouses.
But you've stayed humble and you stayed true to who you are.
Yeah.
You've done the garage. Listen, I never wanted to be in my garage because I always thought about, yo, like, how does that look as a cigar company? When I went to your garage, bro, I came home, I insulated my garage, I put an AC system.
Wow.
Yeah, my garage is now, at this point, now it's an office.
Bro, it
my
is
garage
an
is
office.
my home office.
It is today
Hands
it is
down.
an office because especially for cigar smokers, we could smoke in there, right?
100%.
And let's be honest, you know, commercial real estate, it's not like it used to be, man. You had a bum business. And when I say a bum business, something that broke even, you could still afford an office in there.
100%.
Now, no way.
Bro, there's no way. There's no way. Now, I mean, bro, rent's up 3, 4, 5 times. What you're saying about Mayweather, bro, I used to despise Mayweather because he was cocky with it too. But then when I started looking at the dynamic of who he was as a boxer
it's amazing.
and as a businessman,
Yeah.
I got a whole new take on him.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even though I might not agree with his style of boxing,
Sure.
bro, he's a phenomenal businessman.
Oh my God, he's a phenomenal fighter. He may be one of the best of all time in
I
his
think
weight
he's probably the
class.
smartest boxer that's ever been around.
There you go. And the hardest working.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, this guy runs 8 miles just for fun.
Yeah. He
Like
spends
at like
money,
1
a
in
lot
the
of money
morning.
for
Oh
fun
my
too,
God.
bro.
Okay, so let's get back to
getting off
tobacco.
topic.
So all right, so we got San Andreas is as big as it's ever been because it filled that void. Oh, we can't get the broadleaf anymore, and then it turned out people really liked it.
It's good.
It's very good, but
Different.
I will say, as someone who has tried to blend cigars in factories before, I do not like blending with it.
You don't.
I don't.
I feel like San Andreas is harder to blend than broadleaf. I feel like broadleaf has a lot more varieties and blends that you can attach it to. But I think that once you kind of get the hang of San Andreas, it might even be a little bit easier than broadleaf. I feel like San Andreas, in the market that we're in now, you can throw San Andreas wrapper on almost any blend and it's going to taste good. I've seen Connecticut blends. A cigar that was blended for a Connecticut wrapper, you throw a San Andreas on it and it's night and day.
I do agree with that. And I also agree that there's a few cigars out there, one I smoked yesterday, that have San Andreas wrapper and a Connecticut shade binder that are very good.
I don't understand.
Not into that. Yeah, okay, well look. So So yeah, so that's the thing. I think the San Andreas allows you to focus more on what's in the cigar versus the broadleaf. Everything else is complementing that wrapper because the wrapper's sweet and it's got a lot going on.
Since we're talking about tobacco, and since you said that, a lot of people give a lot of companies like myself hate for the binders. And I want to publicly speak about
What do you
binders.
mean?
I use a lot of Indonesian binder.
Why do you do that? That's a big Dominican thing.
It's a big Nicaraguan thing now too.
Okay.
Indonesian binder is, aside from the cost effectiveness of it, it's a very, how do I explain it? It's a leaf that doesn't add or subtract to the cigar. So if you have a blend that you really work the filters of this blend hard and it matches real good with this wrapper, the Indonesian binder is something that's going to give you the combustion that's needed, and it's going to give you the straightforwardness that you need in the cigar without affecting either side.
I was gonna say the combustion.
No, the combustion on Indonesian is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. Indonesian tobacco is one of the best combustions out there.
It's a workhorse right now, the Indonesian.
100%.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the workhorse of
Yeah.
the cigar.
Yeah.
But I feel like it doesn't add or subtract to the blend.
Don't you feel like it's a little dry? I get there are a few really good Indonesian cigars out there, and I will say this. Oftentimes, I feel like they dry out. It's very tanniny.
I've noticed that with Dominican blends. When you put an Indonesian tobacco on a Nicaraguan blend, Nicaraguan tobacco tends to be a lot more sweeter than a Dominican tobacco would be.
It does work better.
Correct. Like I've seen a lot of blends lately in the Dominican that have Pennsylvania binders.
Now, let's talk about this for a minute. When you find Pennsylvania broadleaf and you go to Lancaster leaf and you smell this stuff, it's like potpourri. It's like old pipe tobacco. You're like,
strong.
wow. But every blender I speak to is like, I do not like working with it. I work with it when I have to.
A lot of people don't like working, from what I've heard in the Dominican. To me, it's something that it's a little bit easier because you know this from firsthand experience. When you go to these factories and you're creating these blends, you're not physically making the blend yourself. You're not making that cigar yourself. You're sitting down with these other master blenders at the factory and coming up with stuff. Woo! The pepper's still a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect balance.
Because usually they drop off.
This is close to a perfect cigar, my man. This is a really good job, dude.
You think it's that close?
I do, man. I do. What's going to make it that much better? It's sweet. It's slightly spicy. It's well balanced. There's nothing on here that's making my back of my throat water or anything. Everything's perfect.
And the pepper on this is a natural pepper because you can't say this is undercured. This cigar's been sitting.
Okay, so wait, what were we just about to talk about? Because I feel like I don't want to forget that.
Pennsylvania binder. Why people don't like working with Pennsylvania?
Why people don't like working with
people don't like working with Pennsylvania because the tobacco itself is a lot thicker. It's a little bit harder to maneuver. And being bigger, like broadleaf, not as big as broadleaf, there's a bottom section of it that you have to cut out. And a lot of people aren't as experienced enough to cut that bottom section out to be able to then take the middle vein out and work with the tobacco. Why exactly they cut that out, I can't tell you. My expertise has not gone to that level. I'm not gonna make some shit up, especially on camera. But yeah, from what I heard is you have to cut that bottom piece out, and it's just a little bit more work.
I heard that it's more about the flavors of when you're actually smoking it. That yes, it looks and smells really good. It does the thing. It mimics a Connecticut broadleaf and all that, but then they don't always love the actual flavors that they get out of it.
Have you smoked a cigar with pipe tobacco filler?
I haven't.
I have. And this was something, we were in Texas at an event, and I had a cigar roller
The Lone
with me.
Star, or what is it called? Is it?
No,
Okay.
no, a store that I sell to in Texas.
Oh, they have their own like house blend?
Yeah, they have their own house pipe tobacco. So I had a roller with me, and we're doing an event, and he was rolling. The owner came with a jar of pipe tobacco. He said, "Can he use this as filler?" So I looked at the roller. Mind you, this guy had only been here from Cuba like 7 or 8 months, didn't speak no English.
Wow.
He worked in a cigar factory in Cuba. So I tell him in Spanish, I'm like, bro, and I give him the jar. I said, "Can you put this in the filler?" And he's rolling a cigar, and he looks up at me, and he goes, "You Americans like some weird shit, bro." He says, "Y'all like some weird shit." Freddie was there. And he goes, "Y'all like some weird shit." And I said, "Do it." So he did it. And he says, "How do I mold the cigar now?" So, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I don't have a press." I said, "Sit on it." So we got books and stuff, and he was sitting on all these molds. And the store owner walks up and says, "Why is he sitting on them?" I said, "He's molding them. We don't got a press. This was something that we just did on the fly for you." Bro, I smoked the cigar. The cigar wasn't bad. It was just too overpowering, and I think that's where you're getting at, where people are saying with the Pennsylvania. Imagine a bunch of different Pennsylvanias shredded up. And it's just too much.
Yeah.
You really have to know how to blend properly when you're using Pennsylvania. You can't just use Indonesian and Sumatra and a couple different fillers and be like, I made my own blend.
Right.
That's something that you have to really know what you're doing.
The rumor always was that when Pepin came out in 2003, that he changed the game. And he changed the body of the American smoker to a full body. And the rumor always was that he used one leaf that was pretty much under fermented tobacco, which there's nothing, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. I'm sure it was fermented a little bit, but he would specifically, and again, this is also a rumor, but that was what I always heard about him, and that he was able to get a much fuller body. So the less you ferment a tobacco, the less you cure a tobacco, the more sensation you're going to get?
First, I don't think there's any rule to tobacco. I think that's what makes everybody unique and everybody's cigars so different, because everybody has their own recipes.
For sure.
That you've said multiple times. I think that there's nothing wrong with under-fermenting tobacco. I think there's some tobaccos that you don't want to ferment 100% because it just changes their overall flavor. I think that where people are getting at here with the under-fermented tobacco is that it's giving you, man, how do I explain it? It's like somebody who starts off drinking wine, for an example. You get to the point where you drink enough wine that it really doesn't give you a buzz anymore. And I feel like the same thing happened with cigars. Most people, as you know, start with Connecticut's. Why do people switch to a Habano or to a Maduro? Because the Connecticut just doesn't do it for them anymore. So what happens when you get to that maximum smoker level where you're smoking Maduros 4 or 5 a day and you're not feeling nothing? Because a lot of people want to smoke a cigar to relax.
They want the nicotine?
An under-fermented cigar is not going to give you any more nicotine. I think it's going to give you more of a punch in the gut, if that makes any sense. And
You're saying that it's strictly for a strength point of view, but I'm saying I feel like it affects the body on the mouth of the cigar too.
100% it's going to affect that. It's gonna. A lot of people don't retrohale. So when you don't retrohale, you're not getting the full flavors of a cigar.
You're right.
So a lot of blends that are made have to be made for palate only. I would say about 70% of smokers in the U.S. don't retrohale.
Right. Oh, for sure.
I've had cigars. Look at this. This one, not a razor sharp burn, but it's
close enough, dude.
I've had cigars that I've made that I've considered to be ass kickers, and I'm giving them to people, and they've smoked it, and they're like, no, I would say this is a medium plus. But the difference is that when we're blending the cigar, we're retrohaling it, and it's burning every single last.
If you're not retrohaling, you're not smoking the cigar. It's just the way it is. It's like not, if you crack open a bottle of whiskey, I don't care if you like it on the rocks or not, you should try a little bit of it neat. That's the way they wanted you to try it,
I learned how to drink neat because of that guy right there. When he moved down from New York, I was a beer drinker. And he said, bro, how do you know so much about cigars? And you don't, your I guess alcohol game isn't at that point. So I was like, well, yeah, give me some ice. He goes, no, you're supposed to drink neat. That blend, and you've been there, you've done it. You've blended not only cigars, but alcohol at this point. You're supposed to drink it neat. And the old heads, they'll say, you gotta drop a little drop of water in there so it opens it up, which is cool. But
try it all.
The ice, the ice will water it down. Same thing with the cigar. When you're not retrohaling, you're watering down your cigar.
Yes.
I agree.
And then one thing that I learned over the last few years is that, I always thought that when you listen to how cigars are explained romantically when you start scratching past the surface, right, is that you're fermenting out all impurities and all ammonia. They always talk about getting out the ammonia, but a cigar without any ammonia is not a good cigar. It won't have any real body to it. The ammonia is what gives us a lot of that pepper.
I feel like I mean, you're 100% right, and I feel that a lot of people have under-fermented tobacco for 2 reasons. First, to get that little bit of ammonia peppery to it, and also because they're rushed, because there's been such a high demand that they have no time to sit on pacas of tobacco for 4, 5, 10 years.
This is what brings me to this debate, okay? And
I plead the fifth.
And let me just say this. I call Nicaragua the new Cuba, but I don't think that any one country that we make cigars in is more important than the next. Okay, and I love Dominican tobacco, and I think that there is a place for Dominican tobacco. In fact, I think most blends should have a little bit of Dominican tobacco in them. If you want or you like a full Dominican thing, that's great too. But to me, the Dominican tobacco is like Jamaican rum. And the reason why I say that is it's very strong, and it's got fruit, like a sweetness that you don't get out of other things, so it can balance out a Nicaraguan blend. It's got esters, they call it, like, real fermenting substance going on there, fruit rotting kind of thing. And I know it doesn't sound good, but it actually is great. But the point is, and some people say Dominican tobacco is more combustible. Some people say it's not. I always have more trouble with my Dominican rolled cigars, lighting and keeping them lit, than I do with my Nicaraguan stuff. And that goes to a lot of people say, and you, I think, have more experience than I do in this, going back and forth to DR and Nicaragua. The curing barns, they're not really curing barns, are they?
They're curing barns. They're Dominican curing barns.
They're like huts, though.
What you're saying of Nicaragua being the new Cuba is, the thing about Nicaragua is that most of these Cuban cigar rollers, manufacturers, blenders have all left Cuba and gone to Nicaragua because that's a whole political thing where it's been a lot easier for them to cross, and they've set up shop in Nicaragua. Nicaragua has great soil. Nicaragua, you've seen it.
But they would have gone to Honduras if the tobacco was, the tobacco in Nicaragua is great.
100%. And it was easy for them to set up shop.
In fact, they did go to Honduras.
Yeah, I know, and they've been to Ecuador, and they've been everywhere. Nicaragua has exactly what they needed and what was the closest thing possible for them to set up shop how they had it in Cuba. Now, I have a special love for Dominican Republic. Aside from the fact, my wife's Dominican, I learned about cigars in the Dominican Republic.
The people of Dominican Republic they're the happiest, most joyous people to be around, and I really enjoy my time and trips and doing business there. They're a little tricky to do business with sometimes, but you learn those few things, the cultural things, right?
He's from Dominican Republic.
Right. You have to learn culturally how to,
It's tough. They're great people. They're very hard to do business with. Once you find the right people to do business with, like what I've been able to do in the Dominican, with my eyes shut, I can make anybody anything in the Dominican Republic, and I don't worry about it. But what I was getting at is, Dominican Republic, the curing barns there have always been to them what they know as their curing barns. Where in Nicaragua, the curing barns are the Cuban-style curing barns, kind of what the whole cigar industry was started on. I think that, I'm not going to sit here and tell you because I'm Cuban that Cuban cigars are the best in the world, but I will tell you I think Cubans are the pioneers of the cigar industry.
Sure.
Dominican Republic, the curing barns are open. The majority of them are open.
So how do you control the heat?
How do you control the heat?
So you're not, okay, so this brings me to where the Jamaican rum thing, and I hope people can get that reference. If you have an opportunity to get some dark Jamaican rum, try that compared to Puerto Rican rum or something, and you're going to see it's a different thing, yeah. And that's how I equate a lot of Dominican grown tobacco, that Piloto.
That's one of my favorite tobaccos is Piloto Cubano from Dominican Republic.
It's very good.
The problem is that it's very small. A lot of people don't use it because cost-wise. That's another thing that I've noticed in the Dominican that is different in Nicaragua. In Nicaragua, if the price, San Andreas, I take that back, I'm sorry, Ecuadorian Connecticut, right now in Nicaragua is almost $50 a pound.
Wow.
Most people are going to be like, oh, $50 a pound, that's nothing. You know what that stands for.
That's a lot, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
In Dominican Republic, but in Nicaragua, they pay for it either way because over there they don't care. They just need to continue to make good cigars. In Dominican Republic, you have certain factories that if the cost of tobacco is a little bit higher than what they're hoping for, they will switch and use something similar or something of lesser value to get their cost.
You're capturing a little bit of that the thing there.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I mean by that is Dominican Republic produces very good tobacco as well. Good. You go to Yamasá or to La Canela, where Davidoff gets most of their tobacco from, it's phenomenal tobacco. You walk into...
Ask all the Kellners growing that stuff. It's dope.
Correct, but
Yeah.
you walk into a factory in Dominican Republic, and obviously you've seen the size and the factories in the Dominican compared to Nicaragua.
It's not even. It's not.
A
It's a
Dom-
different business,
a
and it's the same thing with the curing.
A
Well,
Dominican
fucking AJ's curing barns are like, fuck, I'm living this thing. This
Bro,
is beautiful.
AJ, and I love AJ, and AJ's somebody that I've always looked up to, and I always see what he does, and I don't try to mimic anybody, but I try to.
Bro, you're gonna want to have a fade shot like Jordan. Like, come on, man.
100%.
You got to be influenced by the
People
greats.
say all the time, like, how do you speak well of other manufacturers? I'm not on AJ's level. I'm 100% aware that I'm not on his level. I'm no competition to him. You've seen it. We've sat down. When you were in Tampa, we were FaceTiming with AJ.
Yeah.
Cool guy. He's great.
Yeah.
And I talk well about him simply just because of his tobacco, who he is as a person, what he's done.
Yeah.
And not to blow smoke up his ass. Factories in the Dominican Republic, probably about, I would say, maybe 10 of them collectively that I can think of right now will fit in one of AJ's curing barns, because it's just a different ball game of factories. And not all of them. You still have your bigger guys out there,
Yeah.
but they do things different. And what I was getting at is, you go to a factory in the Dominican Republic and you say, I want to use tobacco from Yamasa or from La Canela, and they're like, oh no, we can't do that for you. It's way
Can't
too
get
expensive.
that. Yeah, yeah. And by the way, we have it in some of our blends, and it's, you can't say what it is.
Well, why?
Because the contracts.
But why would you? You know what I'm saying? That, like, I know why, but I'm saying, it's, if you think about it logically, I want you to say what's in the cigar, because I want you to be able to.
No, you don't, because all of your tobacco is already called for, and we're just getting a little out the back door for a special project.
Yeah, that's true.
It's already paid for. That's your whole paycheck right there. You don't need anything else other than that one contract. And that's what, when you start boiling down, and that's something that
What about when that contract fails you, and then these factories have to close because?
It won't.
I've seen it. I've seen CI, for an example, and I don't care if they get upset. I've seen CI in front of my eyes go to a factory and say, hey, I want you to make me 2 million cigars this year for X amount of cents, right? And they drop everything that they're producing for all these other guys who have been giving them their money countlessly year after year, because they think they just want a big fish. And after that year contract is up and CI says, thank you, have a nice day.
So I think the difference with that is CI can produce multiple different products all the time, right? Whereas like Davidoff needs that signature taste, so they're gonna keep getting their tobacco from that place. Where else are they gonna get it from, right? What would happen if Davidoff was no longer in business or sold to someone else, and they were like, we're gonna change the whole thing? Sure, that can happen, but I think like in all businesses, like the people figure that shit out.
Yeah.
I think, though, when you walk around the Dominican Republic, you do see a lot of remnants of factories. You see, like, in my opinion, two types of factories. You see, now, I don't get to go to Ernesto Perez Carrillo. I don't get to go to Fuente. I don't
either.
I don't get to go to any of the really big guys in DR. I've been to Davidoff.
I've been to Davidoff and I've been to La Aurora. La Aurora is something that, bro, I was amazed.
Okay, La Aurora. There's a factory. This guy's a power.
That's not even a factory. That's a plant. That's a compound.
I've never been. I gotta go,
Bro,
oldest factory in the Dominican Republic.
100%. And their methods that they use, what I really enjoyed about them, I wanted to make cigars with them at one point. What I enjoyed about their factory is the mix of technology with old school. And I haven't seen other factories doing that. Factories are either very technology new school driven, like New World, or they're very old school, let's do it the way we learned 100 years ago.
Yep.
La Aurora has found a way to mix both of those things together.
And that's why they make some of the best Dominican cigars.
I gotta give them that.
I think La Aurora gets a bad rap from the cigar heads, like the people that we kind of cater to.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think they're very underrated. And I think a lot of that underratedness has to do with the marketing, or the lack of marketing that they've done for themselves. I think that La Aurora the other day just opened up their own distribution. They weren't even distributing their own cigars, you know that. So I think that hopefully now, with them taking more control of their U.S. market and hopefully doing more marketing, hiring more sales rep, I think that La Aurora is gonna be recognized for the
What
good
about
cigar.
Quesada? How you feel about Quesada right now? Honestly.
Honestly, I don't think it's a bad cigar. I feel like they're on the up and up in America. In Dominican Republic, there are all the stores out there. I wouldn't say that they compete with La Aurora or with Davidoff or some of the other bigger brands coming out of the Dominican Republic, but I think they're doing a good job. I don't know enough about them.
I think Quesada, you know, I think we saw it with the pig. They're 1-2 things away from going up a little bit.
But what makes you get to that point? Is it marketing?
Working with Privada.
I've been working with Privada since the beginning, so.
I mean, that's what I think.
I got that part down.
We're bringing that new marketing into and so when we work with a factory, we're going to bring some of that, and then they can capitalize on that.
I think a lot of those factories, and there's a lot of factories in the Dominican, not just the Dominican, Nicaragua, Honduras, everywhere. I think that the biggest thing is they're lacking is exposure. And that's one of the things I learned from you is really exposure. It's what's going to help you get recognized. And a lot of those factories just aren't there yet because they're not recognized.
Quesada is not one of those, though. They've been around forever. They have a great reputation. They did good during the boom. They've lasted. They white label. They do a million. They do great things. I don't necessarily love all their cigars. If I grab a Quesada off the shelf, I don't necessarily fall in love with that cigar.
How many companies do you love every single cigar they come out with?
Very few.
So that's normal.
Very few.
I'm sure I know personally I've sent you a bunch of stuff, and not every single thing I sent you.
Of course. But I think that they're like old world that could get spun new again, and I think there's a bunch of that out there. And I think
there's more of it in Dominican Republic.
For sure. And I think what it's going to take is some of the people that originally started those companies to retire. And so that the sons and daughters of these companies go, okay, what could we be doing different now? What's popping now? But in the end, I think these companies are all laughing at us because they're the ones that are selling millions and millions of cigars. And we're like, how the hell are they selling it? Because we don't understand their market. We know this cool ass going to this local shop where the guy is very opinionated on what he likes and what he doesn't like. You know, this shop's a Roma craft shop, that shop's a Saka shop, this shop's a tatuaje. And so that's the where we're living. I think over the next 10 or 15 years, you and I will get experience in this other market. I don't know if it's something we're gonna like though.
You know what that market is?
It's just mass production.
Besides mass production, I think from as much as I traveled to the Dominican, and this is very up and about in Nicaragua as well, but I've seen a little bit more of it in the Dominican Republic, the European market. Dominican Republic, every time I go to a factory and I see all these brands, and like I've said on multiple videos, and you know this, when I go to a factory, lately I've been going to the same factory that we're partnered with, but before when I was doing a lot more exploring, bro, I walk through everybody's aging room. I don't give a shit who you are. I'm looking at other people's stuff. I'm like, let me try that, let me try this. You know, I'll pay you for them, but I just want to see what other people are doing. And I see all these brands, and I'm like, I've never heard of this, I've never heard of this, I've never heard of that. And they'll tell me, that's going to Europe, that's going to Europe, that's going to Europe, that's going to Europe, this is going to China, that's going to China. And I'm like, wait a second, so you're telling me 80% of your production right now is European? They're like, yeah, we only produce about 10% of our cigars go to the US.
Yeah, but the US is the biggest market by far.
It might be, but Europe right now, the problem is with Europe, and I just came back last week from Europe.
You went to the Inner Tobacco or whatever?
No, I didn't go to that.
Okay.
I went for vacation. But obviously, you know, when I'm out there, I'm working.
Of course.
You go to all these different cigar stores, and I'd say 95% of cigars in Europe was all Cuban. You know, Cuba's having issues with manufacturing right now,
and the
price spikes
doubled,
and all that stuff. So you're seeing a lot of people, it's happened to me personally, where I've had people call me from different parts in Europe and even from China saying, hey, you know, I have a store or I'm a distributor and I was mainly Cuban, but I'm having issues and we're needing to outsource now. So you're having a lot of these people in this European and Chinese market start hitting Honduras, start hitting Nicaragua, start hitting Dominican.
I've been contacted in the last 6 months by 2 of the largest European manufacturers, and the way that our business is set up with the rare and limited exclusive stuff, one-offs, it's very hard to do business in Europe, but a few of these guys are trying to work on ways that it can be done. I'm not excited about it, but I'm not.
It's nothing that's gonna blow your socks off. But it is a market I feel like that is getting ready to hopefully expand, because for so many years they were just concentrated on Cuban products, and I feel like now they're gonna start getting some of the bigger guys like AJ and like Roma Craft and like Espinosa.
You know who's done a really good job of spreading that gospel is Maya Selva. that brand has done a really good job of introducing Europeans in an elegant way because they like elegance.
They love elegance.
So they've done a really good job of getting them elegantly into New World tobacco.
And I think once they finally have that New World, they're going to have a boom. When they have that New World boom, and then shortly after that, I think that they're going to have the boutiques and the craft stuff come in. And after that, I feel like that's going to revolutionize the European market. And when you look at it size-wise, bro, everybody in Europe smokes. Everybody. I saw women, men, and when I was in Italy, they were all rolling around in their little Vespas smoking cigars everywhere. I saw people smoking cigars in Italy. They usually smoke smaller, little like the Italian Toscano cigars.
Yeah.
But I feel like that is going to be another boom. And I think that we might even have better business out there than the United States eventually.
So you talked about, when we talk about Indonesia, we're talking Sumatra.
Well, there's Indonesian and there's Sumatra.
Okay, and the
there's the
Sumatra you're
hybrid.
talking about is grown in Ecuador.
Well, there is Sumatra grown in Ecuador as well. Originally, Sumatra comes from Indonesia. A lot of people don't know that.
Right.
Now, there is Sumatra.
And Cameroon is Sumatra, but it's grown in Cameroon.
Cameroon's from Africa.
Yeah.
Correct. So there's traditional Cameroon, but there's also Ecuadorian Cameroon, and there's Nicaraguan Cameroon.
Okay. So this is something that I want someone out there to get out of this conversation is the idea of puros is pretty much bullshit. That's my opinion, but I think you can make a blanket statement that the idea of puros is sort of bullshit.
What's the point of puros?
There is no, I don't know
Why does
why.
everybody freak out
I don't
about
know why. Yeah, I don't know
I'll
why.
tell you why.
Why?
Because of Cuba. Because Cuba was so prideful on saying that their cigars were 100% Cuban, they're 100% puro, that people got a stigma in their mind that for a cigar to mimic Cuba, which everybody wants to mimic Cuba. Look at all these names that are coming out, all these boutique cigar companies. They're all Cuba this, Cuba that, old Cuba, Cuba Heritage, new Cuba, old Cuba. Yeah, but you do it because you're telling a story that matches that cigar.
Yeah.
These are people that are building their company just hoping that the name Cuba is going to make them sales.
Right.
They're not Cuban. They don't know what happened.
Okay, so all right, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here.
Look at the cigar that we found, the last one. That was part of your Cuban box.
Yeah.
That cigar mimicked,
That's
and
right,
that
the
cigar,
Lealtad, yeah.
the Lealtad,
Yeah.
that was a Cuban brand. That cigar has no reason why it should not have been related to Cuba in a way. But you didn't relate it to Cuba because you just hoped that putting something that was Cuban was going to make you sales. You did it because that cigar fit
telling,
that.
Yeah, we were telling
you told
a story
with it.
So in telling those stories, I think it's really important for everyone to know that all these countries that we talk about, they really mostly don't grow wrapper leaf.
No.
Ecuador grows 90% of the wrapper leaf out there. Am I crazy for saying that? 80%?
You're 100% right. I mean, with the exception of Mexico now with the San Andreas.
And Connecticut with the, which we know no one has, or, it's starting to come around again. I'm seeing it a little bit. It might just be the connections that I've made too.
You're seeing it more now, I think, because of your connections, and I think because people are asking for a more expensive cigar in a way, and using Connecticut USA is a lot more expensive than using Ecuadorian Connecticut. But you're 100% right. I'd say about 90% of the wrappers that you see in humidors, in brick and mortars or online or whatever the case is, come out of Ecuador. But yeah, wrapper tobacco, with the exception of really the Fuentes and Hochi Blanco in Dominican Republic, nobody's growing Dominican wrapper. No. And Nicaragua, very few people grow Nicaraguan wrapper. Sumatra, in Indonesia, in Cameroon, none of that stuff. I mean, I guess, yeah, Cameroon and Sumatra really the only two.
I want to share a story with you. There's a guy named Frank Yanessa who was partners with the Olivas.
Frank Yanessa is a Tampa legend.
Okay.
I showed you Frank Yanessa's factory.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Frank Yanessa, wow, you took it back. That's old Tampa heritage right there.
I was reading this interview that he did with Cigar Aficionado, and Frank was talking about how him and the Oliva family, not the Oliva Cigar Company, but the Oliva Tobacco growing family from Tampa
staple.
Yeah, that they would go to Esteli, and when they would go to Esteli in the 90s, I think, that there was no main road that got you there. You were basically trekking through farmland, horseback, all that shit. And when he discovered Jalapa, when he finally got to Jalapa, and he said they were able to produce a wrapper leaf there, and he thinks it's the best tobacco. And this is a guy from Cuba. He thinks it's the best wrapper leaf he's ever been involved with. So you work in Jalapa.
Yeah, so the main factory is in Jalapa.
Right. I guess it would be Aganorsa growing that Jalapa. They own that whole region, right?
No.
No, they don't.
No, not at all. Actually, Aganorsa has some tobacco, some Jalapa tobacco, but Aganorsa's factory in Jalapa is really just like an annex to their Esteli factory. So they use tobaccos that they grow all over the place. They are I would say, a growing superpower, but I don't think that they are one of the biggest growers in Nicaragua. I still think you have the Olivas. Plasencia grows a shit ton of tobacco. AJ's knocking on everybody's door saying, guys, I'm here to play. You know what I'm saying? So you have a lot of other...
So really, when you get down to it, this whole thing that we love comes down to a few people. Because 100%. They control the good tobacco.
100%. Look at Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic, you got Hochi Blanco and Los Reyes. Really, outside of Hochi Blanco and Los Reyes, the Fuentes grow their own tobacco, but that's for them.
They buy a lot.
Well, for them.
Whatever, I don't know their business. It's not my place
for them,
to say.
You know what I mean? But a lot of people, for example, we grow our own tobacco. We grow a lot of filler tobacco in Jalapa, and the majority of it's for us. But guess what? When that tobacco runs out, because it always runs out, AJ's there in line, and Gilberto Oliva's in line. And yes, you do have to buy tobacco from other people. So yeah, all these people that are saying that I don't like what this guy does and what that guy does, you're smoking a lot of the same tobacco that's just being manufactured in different factories. I mean, it's not.
That's what I wanted to get out of this video. I wanted the consumer to look. I've wanted the consumer to look past the brands and into. It's just like bourbon. Like I got into bourbon. And like we're putting out our own bourbon, and it turns out there's one company that makes like half the bourbon that's on the shelves. Well, guess.
Can we say their name?
Yeah, MGP. And it's not like in cigars where it's this mystery.
No, they're all about saying it.
Yeah.
Look at Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace for the price, and you got people that want to buy Blantons everywhere. Blantons and Buffalo Trace come from the same factory. They're not understanding it's just a more economical product. And there's companies like myself who focus on bringing the everyday smoker an economical smoke that's not going to break their bank. Yeah. And let's face it, how many people have $20, $30, $40 to smoke, 5-6 sticks a day?
Right.
They don't.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. But yeah, when it comes down to the tobacco, don't sleep on the tobacco just because of the company. A lot of this tobacco is coming from the same fields, sources. From the same guy growing it.
And they get into wars over this shit. So we talked about that contract. They try to skip the line and get the whole contract.
The tobacco trade, screw the factories and screw the blenders and us guys here, us brand owners and manufacturers. When you get down to the nitty gritty, I know you've seen this, the nitty gritty of the growers, that's ran like the cartel.
Yeah.
When you get down to these guys that have plantations of fields, bro, you want to talk about wars? Yeah. No, that's an all-out war over tobacco. It's like gold.
Yes.
Bro, they don't play around with that. You can't come into anybody's field. You can't come to anybody's farm and step in correctly because they'll have you escorted out, by the military.
Yeah.
And the military in these countries guards that too because for them, that's a source of revenue.
They need it for their jobs too. It's more than revenue. It keeps their people busy.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, tobacco. The tobacco trade, bro. The tobacco trade's like Narcos on Netflix.
Yeah. That's what I want people to get out of this is that it comes down to the tobacco. We can all sell you on beautiful ideas and stories, and they're true about where we come from and why we're unique and all that stuff. But in the end, it really comes down to the tobacco. And Ecuador grows most of the wrapper leaf.
100%.
And Ecuador is the most dangerous fucking place. I won't go. They get kidnapped. People get kidnapped there left and right. They killed some guy's wife.
Central America is pretty
Nicaragua
tough right
feels very safe to me.
Compared to everywhere else like Honduras and Ecuador and stuff like that, I feel safer in Nicaragua. But Nicaragua, you step in any direction that's not, at least me, we're tourists when we go there if you think about it. When you step out of that whole cigar comfort zone, you're in the Wild Wild West too. Dominican Republic's the same way. Dominican Republic, the people are friendlier. You feel more at home. But step into some neighborhoods outside of the cigar, bro. You're lucky to make it out of there with your wallet in your pocket. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just that's anywhere you go.
Yeah.
To touch base on what you're saying about the tobacco, when you make it to that level that you are a established grower, you've made it to me to the top level, the top tier of the cigar game. If that's what you want to call it.
You make the product. You really make the product.
You're controlling it from the ground up. Essentially what factories are doing is assembling. You have your master blenders, and you have guys like us that we go over there and we put our own little spin and tweak, and we make stuff as unique as we possibly can. But the factory is just assembling product that they're buying from other places.
Right.
When you got these guys that are doing these, like the counters, these hybrids that they're coming out with, and they're doing all these seeds and they're moving them here and they're planting them like this and grafting it with other types of tobacco.
Yeah.
That's where the science happens.
Yeah.
When you got guys that are coming out and they're measuring, the soil, and they're taking the soil back to laboratories to test it to see.
That's why I believe, and a lot of people think, that we are smoking the most flavorful cigars of all time.
100%.
Yeah, because tradition and science are joining. And it's happening slowly, and that's cool because we get to watch this progress over time.
It's happening slowly for the consumers. It's not happening slowly for me and you. Because I feel like every year, every trip I take to the Dominican or to Nicaragua, anytime that we try to come out with a new blend, there's 4 different hybrids I didn't even know existed. I feel like everything is happening so fast. Maybe it's because I can't keep up with the pace sometimes. You might not have the same issue, but I feel like we're actually considerably growing quicker than it looks like.
What's your favorite region in Nicaragua for tobacco? Is it Jalapa? Is it Condega? Is it Esteli?
I feel like they all have such their own unique thing. Man, one of the ones you didn't mention that a lot of people don't use is Ometepe.
Do you believe in Ometepe?
I've tried multiple blends with Ometepe in it, and it's good. Now, I will tell you
But do you believe that? I think a lot of cigars that say there's Ometepe, I'm like, really? How much Ometepe? How much are they growing? Who's growing it there?
It's hard to believe that now everybody in Nicaragua uses Ometepe, supposedly. Because it's you're right. How much can you possibly get out of this island? It just almost doesn't make sense. But I have tried true Ometepe, and I feel like you have to be a master blender to be able to blend it correctly. But when it's done correctly, it's good. To me, it's all about what you're looking for in a cigar. If you want a cigar that has sweetness to it, use fillers from Jalapa. To me, that's something that's just automatically like a go-to. You want an aggressive cigar with pepper, Esteli's the way to go. You know what I mean? Condega to me is one of those good mixes where it balances out
Gives
both
a little
of the
grit too. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a little bit more like sandy. It's a lot more earthy. So if you're looking for something that's earthy, a lot of the blends we use, we blend all 3 because those 3 regions are the best, in my opinion, for that. I couldn't tell you that I have a necessary favorite. I'm around Jalapa more, and I have a lot more experience with Jalapa tobacco.
Do you use Dominican tobacco in Jalapa?
We have. Yes, we have used.
Does it add anything extraordinary?
Comparing to a lot of the Nicaraguan blends on the market right now, yes, it is something that's very noticeable. One of the things that we just started blending with in Jalapa now as well is Pennsylvanian tobacco, which Pennsylvanian tobacco, as you know, in Nicaragua is really not as popular as it is in the Dominican. But I feel like it adds that extra touch where you're smoking New World with a little bit of the Old World tobacco in it. And it gives you that, okay, this is tasting like what I'm used to, but it's also giving me that new oomph that I'm looking for in a cigar. Bro, there's crazy things happening in the market. It's crazy how everything, it pumps you up. It excites you.
Yeah.
Like I want to get on a plane now and go over there and start.
It's so cool.
Yeah,
I love it. I think we should end the conversation there. You'll be at PrivadaCon.
Yes.
We'll probably be releasing this cigar at PrivadaCon. It's March 8th and 9th, 2024 in Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, I can't miss that. That'll be a good event.
You bring the fam. This is a chill event. This is where connoisseurs and consumers and manufacturers get to mingle and just be peers.
And that's what I like, because I've never had the experience outside of an event where I can actually sit down and talk to people. I know a lot of people, and not to bring up old stuff, but like with the Duncan, a lot of people that I run into are like, bro, that was one of my favorite cigars. And to be able to actually connect with people face to face on a personal level, that's something that's
cool.
I enjoy.
That's cool.
How many tickets we got left for PrivadaCon, Brian?
We're sold out.
It's sold out already?
Yeah.
I get a ticket, right?
You're good. You're good. Any of the tattoo crew, you guys are good. Don't worry if you didn't get your ticket yet.
Damn, you sold out quick.
15 of us have Privada tattoos. Isn't that cool?
Already?
Yeah.
Well, I've seen on Instagram whenever somebody gets one done, you post it, but I didn't know it was 15 already.
15 of us. Pretty cool.
You've created
I never imagined that, man. It makes me very proud. It also, I feel like it like gives me like a nervous energy too, where I feel like I have to like keep coming up with fun stuff.
But that's good though. That's good because it pushes you to keep doing the things you're doing.
Yeah.
Freddie, you're getting a Tampeño tattoo next week. Bro, I gotta hop on the trend. What's wrong with you, bro?
My man, thank you for everything. I appreciate you coming by and having these conversations with us. You're looking at the next class of the tobacco industry.
That's it.
You know,
That's
and we want to host anyone that's involved in any way, shape, or form. Hashtag we are Privada, hashtag we are family, hashtag we are the industry. Peace.